Hey everyone, the next stops in our Bolivia road trip are Sucre and Potosí.
In this video, you'll find out the best way to really get to know a city, what the dinosaurs left behind in Sucre, what's a truly hot Bolivian soup like, and what you can do to deal with altitude sickness.
If you like the video, don't forget to subscribe. We'll be right back.
We flew from Santa Cruz to Sucre, the capital of Bolivia. We didn't book any airport transfer in advance because we'd read that it's easy to find one on the spot, and that was absolutely true. It cost 20 Bolivianos per person, and we were at our accommodation in about an hour. We just arrived to Sucre and got another surprise from Bolivia. I mean, look at this sunset. Isn't it the most beautiful you've ever seen?
On our first day in Sucre, we wanted to explore the city, its history, architecture and culture, so we booked a free walking tour.
Yeah, we really love these kinds of programs when we visit big cities. We almost always join one because even though the guides technically work just for tips, they are usually incredibly well prepared. We always learn a lot of new information, and so far these tours have always felt like very personal experiences.
Pero la arquitectura no es española la arquitectura. La arquitectura es árabe, esto es muy árabe.
¿Cómo se dice en español este? Rábano.
Comer pollo, chicharrón, chorizos, carnes frías. Las culturas preincaicas o también incaicas se alimentaban de este producto que hasta ahora sigue siendo fundamental en la gastronomía del Perú y también de Bolivia, ¿no? Chuño es como un champiñón, pero es una papa deshidratada. ¿Saben qué es esto?
No, yo creo es
tampoco
melocotón, ¿no?
Muy bien, es melocotón deshidratado, es una fruta, durazno para nosotros, ¿no? Durazno deshidratado. Con esto se hace uno de los refrescos más ricos en Bolivia. Cielo, porque hay simetría, orden, color, ¿no? Ya en el otro lado van a ver que el tejido es oscuro. Eso representa a lo que es la paz. Muy bien, el inframundo, ¿no?
Nowadays, you can find free walking tours in almost every city around the world. So if you would like to try one, go for it. You will find one option in Sucre and one in Potosí in the description below.
Yeah, just don't forget that the people organizing these tours are usually local guides or university students who do this in their free time. So it's definitely appropriate to give them a tip, especially since a €10 tip is still cheaper than paying for an organized city tour.
So, it was a fantastic tour. Huge thanks to our guide Limbert for the experience. You could really tell he does it from the heart.
Yeah, what we probably loved the most were the little stories he shared at each stop about the history of the city and indigenous culture, or how much the Bolivians love to protest.
Believe it or not, there was even a protest because of the Simpsons. This is not a joke. Google it if you don't believe.
Yeah, in 2015, the TV company in Bolivia that broadcast The Simpsons wanted to move the show to a different time slots and channel, and people protested in La Paz, in Cochabamba, and in Santa Cruz as well. And the protest was actually successful. The show's broadcast was moved back into the original time slot.
Limber told us there is a saying in Bolivia that people take very seriously. Either you stand up for everything or for nothing, and they really mean it.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, the free walking tour was absolutely amazing. If you're in Sucre, definitely give it a try. The next day was prehistoric. Sitting in a dino bus. This is a bus which takes you to the dinosaur park, which is in the edge of Sucre, with some models of dinosaurs, some bones, and even some footsteps of dinosaurs preserved in the rock for millions of years. So it sounds pretty interesting. We'll see what happens.
Let's see dinos.
Taller than 1.5 meter. Could be quite comfortable to get in and get out. You don't have to come with this one. Actually, we just saw two normal buses of the city line, and with the number 4, it has a station here. So if you catch the number 4 anywhere in the city, you can land here. This is actually a cement factory, and the park is just above it. Behind me you can see the huge rock wall with the footsteps of dinosaurs in it. Well, you can ask, how is it possible? A vertical wall with footsteps of such huge animals? Well, millions and millions of years ago, it wasn't a vertical wall. This area was flat and muddy, and dinosaurs walking across here and left their footsteps here. Later the area dried out, the ground hardened, and the footprints turned into stone. Over millions of years, tectonic movements pushed the rock layers upward, and that is how this vertical cliff was formed. Until the 80s, everything was still covered by other layers of rock and sediment. During the work of a limestone mine, these layers were removed, and that is how the dinosaur footprints were discovered. Well, okay, the dino park. It wasn't that bad. But if you're not traveling with kids, or you're not a big paleontology fan and you have another program in mind, you might want to choose that one instead. We are not trying to put it down, because the quality of the exhibitions is actually really good, and there are huge super realistic dinosaur models all around the park. But for us personally, it wasn't exactly a highlight. Maybe it would have been better if we could have gone down and seen the footprints up close, but there was some construction work going on, so we weren't that lucky.
Still, for a rainy day, it wasn't a bad activity at all, and including the bus ride, 45 Bolivianos per person really isn't a bad price for it.
The next afternoon we went out to Sucre's long-distance bus terminal. We just wanted to get some information about the morning buses to Potosi. There are quite a lot of bus companies operating that route, so it's pretty easy to get lost in all the options. The prices are more or less the same everywhere, so based on Google reviews, we decided to go with Transemperador.
The next morning we left Sucre. In Bolivia, the only bigger cities we have visited so far were Sucre and Santa Cruz, and we definitely preferred Sucre.
Yeah, it's more beautiful and cleaner, which is already a big plus. What we really liked was the modern mindset of the people, and if you can find them open, there are a bunch of health-focused restaurants there, but it's not very easy because the opening hours listed on Google are almost never accurate. Anyway, traffic is still a bit chaotic, of course, starting with the magic traffic lights that show red and green at the same time.
And sometimes you actually get along faster on foot than by bus.
Yeah, but that's just how it is in Bolivia, and it didn't take anything away from the city's charm. And for a capital, it still has a surprisingly calm and relaxing atmosphere.
So much about Sucre. Now let's see what Potosi was like.
This city of around 180,000 people sits at a pretty serious altitude, just over 4,000 meters above sea level. That's higher than most alpine peaks in Europe. Early in the morning we took a taxi to the bus terminal in Sucre, where we had a little surprise before boarding. In Bolivia, there's a rule that if you get on the bus at the terminal, you have to pay an additional terminal fee on the top of your ticket, like 2.5 Bolivianos per person. Not a huge amount, but it was funny to see all the tourists, including us, paying it, while the locals simply flagged down the bus about 100 meters outside the terminal exit, where you can hop on without the extra fee.
The journey itself was relatively easy. It took about 4 hours, and after getting off the bus, the first thing we noticed was that our backpacks suddenly felt heavier.
Yeah, that's the high altitude they're kicking in. You definitely get tired a bit faster than you're used to at lower elevations. Our first impressions of the city were actually very positive. The old town was beautiful, and people were kind and helpful when we got on the bus with all of our stuff.
What's that?
It's Salteña. We just bought it in the street. It's a dough filled with chicken, onions, and potatoes, with a spicy sauce of I think that's kind of
Chili?
pepperoni. Spicy, juicy, cool, traditional Bolivian.
can get it actually everywhere in the street. They sell it everywhere. It tastes good.
Of course, that wasn't the only thing we ate. As delicious as it was, we needed something more filling after the long travel, so we sat down at a local restaurant and tried Kalapurka. It's a rich, traditional soup, originally made with beef, potatoes, other vegetables and corn flour, but there is also a vegetarian version without meat. What makes it really special is that it's served with a hot volcanic stone placed right in the middle of the bowl, which keeps the soup boiling for minutes at the table in front of you.
It was incredibly good and it felt very comforting in the chilly and rainy weather. The next day we booked the free walking tour again.
Our guide was Julio, and once again we weren't disappointed. During the tour he showed us the Casa de la Moneda, the cathedral, and the oldest church in the city. Of course, the market couldn't be left out either. But the real highlight was El Hornito Salteña. It's a tiny, adorable local spot where they still make traditional salteñas in a several hundred-year-old oven. There is a line in front of the entrance every single day, so we were really curious to see what all the hype was about.
En un lugar llamado Flandes, ¿ya? Ahora, en una señora en 1776 en Bolivia crea con esta empanada, crea una empanada de caldo. ¿Qué te llamas?
Yerico.
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 Oh. Como pueden ver aquí, esto está listo para cocerse, pero las personas lo preparan aquí. Esta harina está hecha de trigo.
De trigo.
Tú conoces, se llama jigote.
Jigote.
Jigote es papa, carne, esquino de spicy, o sea, del ají, pero la parte de arriba, solo, ya, la cáscara. Eso se congela, like frozen, y se llama jigote. Y congelado se coloca aquí, en la harina. Pero esa harina tienes que cortar en cuadritos, ¿no? Y empiezas a cerrar el jigote. Close, like this.
Repulgue se llama, repulgue.
Sí. Y después está listo para cocer, para preparar, unos 20-25 minutos, ¿ya? 800 salteñas por día.
800.
Llegas a las 12:10, 12:20, ya no hay. Se termina, es una comida de media mañana, porque como hace frío en Potosí se toma desayuno y antes del almuerzo, una salteña, comida de media mañana. ¿De acuerdo, chicos? Entonces los que no son vegetarianos van a probar una salteña, ¿de acuerdo? ¿Ya? Y con ella vamos a tomar 2 cervezas.
No bien.
Eso, voy a tocar un tema para la señorita, para las chicas.
Better than the one yesterday was. With a lot of onions. You see? Wanna try?
To top it all off, we even got some live music with our lunch, thanks to Julio. there is something else about him we'd like to share. He worked in the silver mines around Potosí from the age of 14. Unfortunately, child labor still exists in some of the surrounding mines today. That's one of the reasons we decided not to visit them, even though they are considered one of the most popular tourist attractions here in Potosí.
We really hope that one day things here will change for the better.
Okay, as we promised at the beginning of the video, let's talk a bit about the effects of high altitude. As we mentioned earlier, when we arrived in Potosí, the first thing we noticed was that we ran out of breath much faster than usual. Later on, we even had moments when we woke up at night short of breath, and we also experienced some dizziness and headaches.
Luckily, all of these symptoms disappeared completely after about 2 days. But what can we do to handle high altitude a bit better? First of all, drink more water than usual, at least 2 to 3 liters per day.
Don't push yourself. Slow and steady wins the race.
Locals also say that coca tea helps. We've been drinking it every day since Sucre. We are not sure if it really made a difference, but it actually tastes pretty good, a bit like nettle tea.
Gradual acclimatization is also very important. Spending a few days in Sucre worked perfectly for us. We were already at about 2,800 meters there, and so our bodies didn't get shocked by the altitude in Potosí. The most important thing is to listen to your body, and if needed, it's much better to take an extra day to rest than to risk more serious altitude problems. And if you experience symptoms like confusion, impaired coordination, inability to walk in a straight line, you should descend to a lower altitude as quickly as possible and seek for medical attention, at least for a short period of observation. In our next video, we'll take you to Uyuni and the Bolivian Altiplano. Alongside the stunning landscapes and unforgettable experiences, you'll also see just how scary a car accident can be at 4,600 meters at the edge of the world where you can't count on any help. We hope you enjoyed this video about Sucre and Potosí. If you have any questions or comments, just leave them below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel and visit our website for free accommodation. Until then, thanks for watching and see you next time.
See you next time.